What up, roomies? Tonight on Neighbors, we're talking about getting unstuck, but in a way you probably didn't expect: math, nature, and momentum. Our guest Courtney. Damn, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I don't
Shawl.
want to kill it. What?
Shawl, like a
Shaw?
shawl. Yeah.
Shaw? All right, let me start over.
Yeah, you're good.
What up, roomies? Tonight on Neighbors, we're talking about getting unstuck, but in a way you probably didn't expect: math, nature, and momentum. Our guest Courtney Schawl, author of You Are the Sum of Your Last Two Moves and How to Get Unstuck, How to Use the Secrets of the Fibonacci Sequence to Get Unstuck in Life. She believes your life changes the same way growth happens in nature. One move builds on top of the last move. And on our next move, we can create a whole new pattern. Let's get into it. Thank you for being on, Courtney. I do apologize for butchering everything.
Yeah,
I'm
totally good.
horrible sometimes, but I'm also on point. So what's up? How can you give us a little background on like how you got into like incorporating the Fibonacci sequence into like life and all that?
Yeah, so originally I got into business because I just wanted to be home more with my kids. And you hear all those things where it's like, oh, you can make 10K a month and like working a couple hours, and it's really not as true as they say.
Yeah, I,
I
I
was
feel you on that one.
Yeah, right. You're like, oh wait, and then you get into it and you're like, this is a lot harder. But I was struggling really hard with like burnout in being an entrepreneur. I was like doing meta ads for clients, and I found a mentor and I started watching his YouTube videos, and he said something about like bee pollination and how you can take a principle from any other discipline and apply it to a different discipline, and the principle stays the same. And it like hit me like a ton of blocks. I was like, oh my gosh, the Fibonacci sequence, which was something that I was really intrigued by like way back in high school, very irrelevant to my life.
Yeah.
um, but I was always fascinated by it because I am a musician, and the Fibonacci sequence, when you use it in music, that's how Mozart made great music. So my math teacher, like in my sophomore geometry class, showed us a YouTube video, and I
Yeah.
took that experience and thought, well, I wonder if I can apply this to my own life, and it worked. And so I wrote a book on it to help other people also get unstuck.
All right. And can you just for like the roomies to know what is the Fibonacci sequence?
Yeah, most people don't know. So
I know it's like the golden ratio. Like
yeah,
I'm familiar with it, but let the roomies know.
yeah. So the Fibonacci sequence is a sequence that is found everywhere in nature. All it is that it starts at 0. You add one number, so the number 1,
Yeah.
and the next number in the sequence is the sum of the last two. So 0 plus 1 equals 1. Now you add 1 plus 1 equals 2,
Those two.
2 plus 1, and so forth. And it's just compounding on each other. But what's fascinating, which I didn't know when I first learned about it, is if you square two numbers in the sequence, it actually can jump you ahead in the
Okay.
sequence. And always a number further along. So you can actually practically quantum leap, which just by finding a multiplier.
Okay. And like how did you figure out like how to apply it into like real life situations and like stuff like that?
Yeah, so I started seeing people like, you look at people like Gary Vee or Alex Hormozy, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
they're really accomplished. How do they get this way? But then you kind of look back at their history, and it's like Gary Vee was doing lemonade stands and like managing multiple of them, like hiring friends at like the age of like 9. So
Yeah.
of course he's gonna be like a boss in business at the age of, I think he's 50 or something.
Yeah.
So I recognize that, oh, every two moves you make in your life are just the summation of where you're at today. For me, I was a music therapist. I then worked into nonprofit stuff doing marketing, and then the marketing led me into starting my own business. Somebody asked me to build a course for them and market them, and I blew them up on TikTok. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, maybe I can use my music therapy experience and combine that with building a course. And I created something called One Day Songwriter to help people like speed write songs and process
Okay.
trauma
That's
from
dope.
from my psych area. And I thought, wow, if I just combine two things that are seemingly irrelevant to each other, you can make something completely new. And that's just how you create, is just combining two experiences from your past.
No, I get that. And that makes a whole lot of sense because like it's like Well, from what I'm getting is like you're basically moving on your own momentum. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like if you produce a track today, you know, you're just doing the instrumentals. Now you have that inspiration to move on to the songwriting. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Yeah,
So
and
like,
it's like, oh yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to that. Like, if you are already good at like podcasting,
Yeah,
wouldn't it make sense then that maybe you would also then one day mentor these people? Like, you have the skills to talk and reflect, and then that's gonna make you really good at being a mentor to someone. So it's just what you're doing today can launch you into something that you wouldn't even think of.
nah, I feel you on that. And when you say like the sum of your last two moves, what do you mean like in plain English like about that?
Yeah, so your life tomorrow is just the summation of all the choices you made yesterday and the months prior. So it's like, I think the easiest way to look at it is like when you look at weight loss and everything. Like
Yeah,
in the beginning, the momentum is so slow. Like you might eat, and it goes both ways. So like sometimes we make a not bad food choice, but we make something that maybe isn't going to help our health. You won't notice that effect until 6 months later down the road, you
true.
know? But if you, and it's the same on the positive way, like that salad's not going to help you for the one day, or that protein shake's not going to help you today. But if you compound and do that every single day, 6 months from now, you're going to be a completely different person.
No, I
Um,
got that.
yeah. So that's really what it is. And then with your skills, it's like learn one thing really well, be the best at it. And then what's the natural next skill that you have to learn to be the best? So for me, like in meta ads, I was pretty good at graphic design. I self-taught. I'm not like amazing at it, but
Yeah,
like good enough to make ads. But then the next logical step was for me to learn film to make good video ads. And then when combining those, then man, the ads become great. But then the next
yeah.
logical step is social media for clients. So it's just mastering one skill at a time and compounding all of those to become this whoever you want to be. But it's unique to you and nobody else can be you.
No, I get you on that. So basically, you're stating that like when you're going into like a field, and we'll just take like podcasting for example,
Yeah.
right? You know, naturally, the first step is wanting to be able to communicate with people.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be able to talk. You want to be able to, you know, be able to concisely, you know, explain your ideas with everyone and be able to, you know, carry a conversation. Then you get into the more technical aspects like editing, you know, and
Oh,
promoting your stuff. So it's like what I'm getting is like basically is like the natural progression of life. You know, like you start at a seed, then you get a tree.
yes, exactly like that. And you're not mad at the seed for not being a tree. The seed has
No,
to be the seed.
yeah, it has to grow. So I'm getting it. Where did this idea start from you? Start for you? Like, was it like in business? Was it earlier in life?
Yeah, it really just wasn't business, like, being in that stuck moment of, like, I didn't know how to make my business work because I was so burnt out, and I didn't understand how people around me were scaling and giving me ideas on, like, how to scale, but it wasn't, like, authentic to me, like, they wanted to
Yeah,
outsource, and that was, like, the way to scale, and I didn't agree with that, and because for me, I tried that and I lost clients by doing that because the work got not as good. It's not that
yeah.
people can't outsource some of that stuff, but it was more just like the path that I took didn't it didn't work out for my clients.
I
But I
feel you.
learned that I could scale by instead of doing all the work, teaching people how to do the work so that they could do it for their own businesses, not have to pay a marketing agency a ton of fees, and they could also learn the skills themselves. So it really was mostly in business, but then I started realizing like, reading books like Atomic Habits and stuff that, oh, this applies to every part of life.
But you know what's crazy? I just finished reading Atomic
Oh,
Habits.
you did?
Yeah, yeah. Because all right. So a little bit about me. I'm like
Sure.
all over the place, and I thrive in chaos. So we're definitely gonna talk about burnouts a little later on in the pod because I definitely need some advice on that. But I like thrive in chaos, but I'm trying to get more organized now. So I just read Atomic Habits too.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a good book. I mean, it's a great
It's a
foundation.
great read, yeah.
Yeah, and I love the 1% because it's like we think we have to do everything today or like this week, and it's like, no, just do like 1%. And then that's how I built my business. Like I'm a mom of 3 under 3 and I could not I can't grind it out for 8 hours a day, you know?
No, I
So
feel you on
I only
that.
worked 2.5 hours, but every 2.5 hours every single day compounded. I might have been slower, but I'm still making it to the same spot of other people just on my own timeline.
Yeah, and true. And like Atomic Habit says, if you only improve 1% every day, by the time a year's through, you've done improved. I think it was 37 times or
Yeah,
something of that nature.
which is huge. Like that's 370% times better than or 370% better than you were when you started. And it
That
is
is
so
true.
true. It's like in my book I talk about motivational interviewing, which is a way to help you actually form those habits because you can't just jump into a habit. I like to use my friend as an example. She didn't want to use a microwave anymore. She's pretty
Yeah,
crunchy. I'm kind of crunchy, but I haven't gotten there yet. But
yeah,
instead of just like throwing her microwave away, she prepared herself by like putting a pan, or like a reheating pan on the stove and like knowing and being aware that it was there. And it feels kind of stupid, but this is what Atomic Habits teaches you too.
yeah.
Like prepare and like just instead of go to the gym and work out, just drive to the gym and park and then do it the next day because it's like that compounding effect of getting to that habit formation is how it actually sticks. That's why most of us quit our New Year's resolutions by like this time of
That is true. And
January.
and then on top of that, it's just like I think it's also about building momentum as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things that or at least from my personal experience is like with certain tasks you procrastinate, you don't want to do certain things, but if you like do a little bit every day, you get into the habit of it, Atomic Habits, and then you're finally just doing it, and then you're there like, oh snap, there's something that was displeasing to me, now it's just a part of my everyday thing.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's so true. It's just about making it fit into your schedule. I love that.
Yeah. So what was the moment that it connected for you that this math was also a pattern of life?
Probably well, it was purely just in that moment of watching that YouTube video. Like it was like an instant spark and that's kind of what I teach people of like you can't like force a quantum leap, but it will happen when you're preparing yourself for it. And so for me, it was like I had immediate inspiration and I like wrote the book in 10 hours by like speaking it out. That's what I teach people is like a speak out
Yeah.
method. And then turning that into the manuscript. But like and that's actually what a lot of people do. Like people don't realize it on the back end. They're not most writers, most entrepreneurs who are not
Yeah.
writing to be writers, they're writing for their business, are not writing. They're like speaking it out because that's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like that's the moment. I heard bee pollination and I thought Fibonacci sequence. And I was so fascinated because like even our arm, like the space between your knuckles is follows the golden ratio. Same with your arm, your DNA. Like it's if when you instead of trying to like do growth in a way that's opposite of how the natural world exists, we need to do it in the way the natural world exists so that growing becomes easy.
Yeah. So we, like I said, we were talking about burnout a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
Do you think that people get burnt out because they're going against like the natural progression of like their own growth?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. So, one, I think that's part of it. I think another part is like comparison. And this is a big thing I like always tell people is like my spiral is going to look different from your spiral. And what I mean by spiral is like in the Fibonacci sequence, the
Yeah.
spiral, the golden spiral. Like no two people are alike. And so you'll look at somebody like let's just take Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO. You'll look
Yeah.
at him and be like, "Okay, well my podcast doesn't look like that." But you don't realize like he was a business owner like
Yeah.
already like a millionaire, I think, before he started that. So of course his podcast is going to look like that. He's already had the connections. He already knows what it takes. He's already had multiple interview points to be able to have that curiosity mindset. Now, it's not that he isn't already gifted in that, but like he put in the reps. And so
Yeah.
we don't see the work that's done in the dark by people. And so I think the biggest part of burnout is expecting results versus making a goal. Like a lot of people will make a goal towards like, oh, I'm going to like get this many followers or I'm going to get this much money this month. And versus like an input goal of like, I'm going to do 20 podcasts or I'm going to do one podcast a week for the next 10 years and see what happens. That goal of input changes it from like, I'm not doing this to do whatever. I am just making this input goal to see what happens. And that shifts you out of burnout. But also, like, if things don't fit in your schedule, that's going to burn you out too. Like, not being present in the moment. So for me, I was started creating a business that didn't fit my lifestyle with the service meta ads because I had clients calling me like all day long and I have kids and I'm like, I would get burnt out because I couldn't be present in the moment because I was doing multiple things at a time versus being able to put my focus on one thing. So that's why I started getting out of that because I didn't have the lifestyle that fit that type of job.
No, I get you on that. So when it comes to, so you would say that like people that like say that they're great multitaskers, right?
Yeah.
You would say that, well, at least for me, I see that multitasking for me is kind of like a not I won't say a superpower, but it's kind of like a downfall for me a little bit because I could, I start working on something, then work on a little bit here, then work on a little bit there, but then at the end of the day, I'm like, I didn't make as much progress as I wanted to. So do you think people should like avoid like multitasking to avoid burnout? Because I see that in my personal life, when I try to multitask, I tend to lead to burnout faster.
Oh, 100%. And I'm the same way. Like, I think creatives like you and I want to create everything. Like, I was in a creative loop just these past couple months where I was like writing books, doing this, doing that. And I wasn't getting where I wanted it to be because I didn't focus on the one thing. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to, it doesn't mean you can't go back to the other things.
Of course not.
But it's like picking the one thing that's going to make you the most money, or it, like as an asset, like a podcast is an asset. The one thing that's going to build that for you the biggest way versus like the short-term successes. So yeah, for somebody who multitasks, it actually, somebody told me this and I wish I knew the science of it, but they told me just a couple months ago that by multitasking for women, like a lot of times they say women are really great multitaskers. It actually ruins your brain. Like it starts, it's not healthy for your brain. And so I was really surprised by that too. And it really made me like rethink because I'm somebody with like 47 tabs on their computer.
Oh, believe me, I know how that is.
And I'm like, wait, I was doing this project, I was doing that project. But actually that like fries your brain. So if we can focus on like writing it all down so that way you can close the tabs and get back to the things later. So like I use Notion now to put on all my tasks, all the things I want to do. So that way I don't have to have that mental load of thinking about all the stuff. I can just go on there and be like, oh yeah, I was supposed to film that. I'm going to do this task today versus like you're saying, all the tasks.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I usually thrive in chaos, but this year, God willing, I'm going to be more organized. So that's exactly what I'm doing as well. Like, I'm like every morning I go through like all the things that I need to get done and I just like list all of them out and I just like check them off as I go. And I've noticed that my workload has gotten significantly easier.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I'm editing a podcast. Oh snap, I gotta go produce this song. Or oh snap, I gotta record this DJ set. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, and that's good to hear that too, because like it's such a hard revelation because you want to like you think you can do it all, and it's do you feel like the chaos was like a distraction almost to getting towards your goals?
That's a good one, but I don't think it was a distraction. I think it was more so of me feeding too much into my own like nature.
Yeah.
Because I have, I don't want to say I have ADHD, but I do like tend to need like multiple points of stimulation while I'm
Oh yeah.
focusing on something. So it's like I think I use multitasking as a form of those multiple points of stimulation.
Oh, I get that. Yeah. My husband
Yeah.
has like really terrible ADHD, but the superpower of ADHD is you're very creative and like once you lock in,
Oh
man,
yeah.
yeah, you can do whatever
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want.
Once you get into that flow state, you'll be there for hours without noticing it.
Oh yeah.
But also, it also is like a double edged sword because like I'm the person that tries to like chase my flow state,
Oh yeah.
and then when I try to chase it, I don't achieve it. But when I'm just hanging out, chilling, just working on stuff, that's when I'll achieve it a lot easier.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's always like the hard part. Yeah. Cause you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, draw on that. So like, what's like the biggest misconception people have like when they hear that you're applying like the Fibonacci sequence to like regular life?
So this one's a big one. So I talk about quantum leaping a lot and like there is a group of people, like good or bad, doesn't really matter, but there's a group of people that kind of misrepresent quantum leaping. They use that language to describe like manifesting and like magic, and that's
Yeah,
not what I'm talking about like at all. I'm talking about like just purely the math and the natural progression. So I've had friends who are Christian and they're like are you trying to teach me something woo woo? And I'm like, no, this isn't woo woo. This is like just math and
and
science, you
yeah,
know?
and it's just moving on together because I was about to get into that too because quantum leaping is like this big term that they use in like new spirituality and like manifestation as well. You
Yeah,
know,
and what is wild about that is it's so off in the way that so like manifestation in the way that a lot of people talk about is like it's coming from within and like you're the one manifesting from what I understand. But what quantum leaping requires is and I use it like as an electron. So
yeah,
you are an electron and in quantum mechanics the electron requires like a photon to heat it to pull it up to the next orbit.
yeah,
And so there's no possible way that in quantum physics the energy can come from within the electron. It has to come from somebody else. So I teach people that 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 heat, that light required to jump them up in quantum leap comes from somebody else, like a mentor. It can be a method that's different, but the energy has to be an outside source to jump them ahead in the timeline. And so when people say they're manifesting, it's like they might get certain benefits or whatever,
yeah.
but the energy's coming from somewhere. It
True.
truly can't come from within. And that's why I just mathematically and scientifically, it doesn't fit into what real quantum mechanics is.
Yeah, and what quantum leap and this is what I get upset about when like people talk about like quantum leaping and manifesting is like people want to say, "Oh, you have to put yourself in the right frequency or the right vibrations, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool. You could do that. You could like raise your frequency or vibration to whatever level you want, but you're not gonna manifest anything, and you're not gonna quantum leap if you're not putting in the work."
A
You know what
hundred
I mean? And that's one of the things that I've always like had a big like disagreement with, I guess, with like especially with like new age spirituality, is like people want to just like want to think it into existence instead of putting action towards it. And I
Oh yeah.
think that's where a lot of people are like confused when it comes to like actual manifestation versus like the new age term of manifestation, I would say.
Oh, 100%. And it's sad because people are looking to better their lives and there is another way that is going to better your life. And it's exactly what you said. It's like everything on earth, if you just look at the natural progression, there is time and it takes work to grow. There it's dirty, like the seeds are in the dirt, it's dark, it's damp, and then it blossoms. But that blossom, like it is the compounding of all the work that you've put into it. Like it makes people think they're an overnight success. So like for example, I wrote my book in August
Yeah.
and I'm filming in February on the Shark Tank guy's Next Level CEO, Damon John's show. And that might look,
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah. That might look like
Congratulations.
I manifested that, but I didn't. Like I didn't say I'm going to be on Damon John's show. I just was put in an opportunity. I saw an ad. I was like, maybe I'll apply. All the work I took from all of my compound experiences allowed me to then get that position. Like it wasn't like I went over here manifesting it. And if I did manifest it, it might not have been the same way because I wouldn't have been
Yeah.
the person prepared for that.
Yeah.
Um
But yet again, what you're just explaining is like the concept of what true manifestation is versus the new age, meaning of manifestation. You put
yeah.
in the work, you put in the time, you went on the grind, you did all the dirtiness that you needed to do to get to where you was gonna get to. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
exactly.
not, it's not like nowadays where it's like, oh, you got to think positive and things will happen. No, that's not how it works. Manifestation, or at least from my personal experience,
Yeah.
manifestation is when you have a certain mindset and you work towards that mindset and you achieve your goals that way. And the
Oh,
opportunities around that will present itself because you've put in the work and you're representing yourself at the highest caliber.
100%. I like you said it perfectly because and I think this is where even the frequency stuff gets like misconstrued. It's not that you're raising your frequency, it's just the belief in yourself allows you to emit a positive energy. Then people are going to like you. They're going to be,
Yeah,
um, yeah, put towards you, but you're not controlling the situation. And so you said it perfectly because that's exactly what it is. And like to give you an example, my mentor, like I didn't believe in myself, and so my energy, what not even energy, my energy was lower because I was operating in like unbelief that I was good enough. And that feeling of not being good enough was projecting out into when I met people. They would
yeah,
sense, just like in sales, like you can sense, that's the first thing we notice scientifically. They've found this that like we actually, as humans, evolutionarily, like we don't communicate just through our words. Like 80% of it is our body language. So if you don't believe in yourself, your shoulders are hunched, you're like not in the position for somebody to take you up on those opportunities. But if you are feeling good, you believe in
yeah,
yourself, people are attracted to that. And that's again like that, it's so close, but it's not exactly it.
yeah. Because it's like the first thing everybody feels is that when you meet somebody, you what we call, I guess, our generation would say, the person's vibe,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
you notice a person's vibe if they're like down in the dumps or like or if they living on high. You know what I mean? You can feel that, and when a person's has that positive energy, they have like a gravitation.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the energy of like we are energetic beings, but the energy is just how we relate to each other. And the way to raise it is by believing in yourself and believing in your worth and knowing you aren't valued based off of what you do, but just by who you are.
That's true, and a lot of people. I think a lot of people falter on this is because of the way society is now
Yeah.
and the way that society kind of like depicts success. And I've said this before on several podcasts. It's like, for instance, when you scroll through Instagram or TikTok, right? You
Oh, yeah.
only see people's like successes. You never see the grind. You never see the pitfalls. You never see their days that they're like, yo, what's going on? Should I quit? You never see the downside of it or the ugly side of it, but you always seeing the successes. You never see like the journey.
Yes, it's so true. And like honestly, that's the perfect type of content. I tell people to make that content because it makes you authentic and relatable. Because it's hard though. It's a hard thing to do
Yeah.
because you kind of have to publicly embarrass yourself because you get comments then like I got a comment that so being a musician, you'll relate to this.
Oh
Somebody
yeah.
somebody commented like, why would I take advice from a failed artist? It's like
You were like, wow, that hurts.
artist. Like, what do you mean? But so I think it's like, yeah, it's like you have to, people don't show that journey because exactly like people don't want to see the journey. They want to see the success, which is unfortunate. But I also feel like sometimes um, there's a way in which like you almost have to enter like a hidden point
Yeah.
where people don't see you. And so I feel like that's why some of these people do that, because they are kind of secluding themselves. But when they do that, I think it's really powerful when they show, there's a few creators that do this and they say, "Hey, I'm here now, but I was only, I was $100,000 in debt or this or that. And I like lost my job and all that stuff." I think that's when sometimes you can bring that back to show people like, "Hey, it's not easy. It's not what you
It's
think it is."
it's never as easy as the majority of like the population thinks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's why so many people believe that when they go into certain fields or like especially with like entertainment, I see this a lot with like musicians and like or people that say they're the creative, but they're just really riding the wave. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're trying to get into music, but just know that when you're getting into music, you may not become the next Taylor Swift or Travis Scott or Diplo. Like do it for the love that you have for your creativity, and if you pop off, great, but don't expect that to become an overnight success because there's a lot of work behind that. Especially
Oh,
trying to like build that community and like get yourself out there.
yeah. No, I 100% agree. It is so true, because it's like you have to do something that you would do if it was not paid. And if you
Yeah,
wouldn't do it not paid, then it's not going to be for you. Cuz yeah, it's hard, especially the music. Like my cousin, he's a professional musician, but he's not famous, and he plays regularly. He gets paid. That's all he does. And a lot of people, I think, like you're saying, like kind of misconstrue the fame versus what is success. And success
yeah,
doesn't mean being Taylor Swift. It can
yeah.
mean just like making music that helps people and inspires people, gets people through the day, and also allows other people to get their creativity unlocked.
Yeah, that is true, and that's something that I've always noticed too. Is like people have this misconception that you have to be like number one on the billboards or like getting Oscars and whatnot in order to be like this creative force or an inspiration to other people. Like a small podcast like this one can inspire tons of people to be like, what, I'm curious to find out about what people are doing, so let me do my own pod or let me reach
Yeah.
out to people. You know what I mean? So like a small musician or like a person that just does it for their own passion could inspire tons of people.
Oh yeah, and you never know like how that one moment, even if it's just one person, can dramatically change the course of their life. And like I used to see this a lot in the psych hospitals, like doing music therapy in
Yeah.
there. Like I did this intervention where you'd write down your five senses, and then I'd have them pick a moment, write their five senses down, and then they would write their lyrics. And I, for the sake of time, and I don't want to embarrass anybody, I would play their songs and improvise them.
Yeah.
And like you could see the total shift, but it's like that's something that they could take. And yeah, nobody knows, nobody saw that, but I know I had a patient come back. They were back in the psych hospital, and I
Yeah.
could see it was a completely different person. They're still struggling with a lot of stuff, but like you just never know that one opportunity. I mean, and that's the same with my math teacher. All
Yeah.
she did was post, or she probably was having a bad day and just wanted to put on a YouTube video for us. That one video, had I never seen it, I never would have written this book that helps all these other people now.
That's a fact. That's
Like
a
you,
big fact. That's true. And that's what a lot of people, I think that's like one of the biggest misconceptions that modern day society has is like they feel that you have to be able to reach millions of people in order to not influence, but help people. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And really, you just have to be present in the moment where you're at. And if you can do that and actually be happy,
Why
like,
not?
yeah, that's all it takes.
That's also like the misconception of like being rich versus wealthy, or at
Yeah.
least this is how I explain it, right? Like I feel that people that know who what true wealth is, it doesn't mean like financial numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It means like you're able to do things to that you're happy with. Like you're happy in life, your family's good, your friends are good, and you're able to help people. I feel like that's what true wealth is versus like what people believe wealth is financially.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And it's one of those things too of um like people who are making a lot, some of them are happy and like money does help them to have the experiences they want. And then some are very unhappy. And yeah, at the core, it's like money is only going to magnify what your current life is right now. If
Yeah.
you live a happy life, it's going to magnify. If you live a sad life, it's going to magnify.
Yeah.
Like money is just a tool. And
Yeah.
who you are and how you exist every day is what shapes whether it's going to be beneficial for you or not.
That is true. Um, so how does someone use their last two moves to progress forward? Like, how do they get unstuck using their last two moves?
Yeah. So what I tell people to do is like take out a piece of paper and I have them write down every job that they've ever had, even like the hard ones, like, you know, oh, I worked at Walmart in this like temporary season, whatever it is. And I have them list down all the skills that they got during those jobs, good or bad, and what people constantly went to them for, because that's a sign of what you're good at. So even if it's like, oh, people constantly came to me to like fill up the printer ink, well, that shows that you're dependable, and
Yeah.
that's a sign of something. Or they always came to me to like gossip, well, it's a sign that like people that you're a good listener, and that being a good listener is going to really be great if in sales. Like that tells me that you'd be really good in sales because you can
Yeah.
listen. um but so you write down all your jobs and then you write down like all those skills, what do people constantly come for to you, and then you start noticing a pattern. You see, okay, well, to give an example, like I in my RA job back in college, we had to learn Canva just to make like flyers. I never touched it before, but
Yeah.
as a skill I learned. But that skill I noticed was something that I used at the nonprofit job, and people came to me, even though it was not in my job description, to make the flyers, make the brochures, all of that stuff. It wasn't my job, but I had the skill for it. And so then I noticed that and I thought, oh, well, then I must naturally be able to do this in the marketing world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you figure it out. It's a deep reflection of who you are and being self-aware of like what you're actually capable of and what you're good at. And then it's just the repetition. So like um, like with I give me an example with your life, and we'll maybe do yours.
Let me see. Where can we start at? Well, I believe I'm a little older than you, so I'm not Canva, but I'm more old school Photoshop. So I used to do graphic design on Photoshop. A lot of people come to me for like more technical stuff, like if the computers are messed up, you know, programming, a little bit of editing here and there. A lot of editing. And let me see, what else do people come to me for? Yeah, and also a lot of people just like to sit down and talk to me, and like just pick my brain about like things they're going through and like what kind of like simple advice I have.
Awesome. Okay, so all of that right there, like the next move for you would be you're building this podcast. You're going to be bringing people on who don't have the technical skills. You create a boot camp teaching people. I mean, not this, but it could be like you
Yeah,
create a coaching program for the non-techies, which there are so many who don't know how to use Photoshop, and you make it simple for them, who don't know how to use tech. Or if you don't want to teach them the skills, you create a system that shows them exactly who, like through partnerships, they can go to at a fair price so that they're not looking constantly for the right people, because a lot of people don't have the
yeah,
skill but say they do. So like that's a way to do it. Another way is like you might create podcast art for like podcasters. You might create a whole podcast boot camp for people who need to learn the editing, you've done the podcast, you have the Photoshop skills, so you can show them a DIY podcast system. Like there's so many things you can do. But yeah, I think really a lot of it's just also building personal brand of like you can put this knowledge that you've had on all of this stuff, put it on TikTok with just quick little tips that people don't think about that are even easy. Like I made a video just on like how to use Perplexity, the AI thing of like, it's basically Google, but like
Okay.
asking a quick question. And so many people, of course, there's gonna be some people that are like, this is a stupid video, like everyone knows this, but most people didn't, you know,
Yeah.
and so like that really helped them. And so you can become, you're already doing the content, you can become a content creator. Like there's so many ways to stack all of those skills. Like another example is my husband. He's a firefighter, but
Hey.
but he also
Shout
is.
out to him. You know, thank him for his
Oh yeah,
services.
I'll thank him. Yeah, and he's also really good at film, and so he combined his fire knowledge with film to then create this thing called the Fire Standard, where it's a training platform, kind of like YouTube, but
Yeah.
he's interviewing all these people, and he has the film skills to film them from his background in filming his brother's like soccer games,
Yeah.
and he also has the skills of like he got his brother a bunch of like trial, like his brother ended up not wanting to go pro, but he got him to FC Dallas over here and got him signed on
Hey.
the academy. But he used all of that like skills of like cold outreach to then now be able to get all these people on his platform filming free content for his stuff. Had he not done all that work, like constantly getting rejected for his brother's stuff, he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing now. So he combined like that recruitment plus the fire plus the film to create the Fire Standard. And that's kind of how like everybody's is so unique because we all have a unique purpose, and the purpose sometimes isn't something you find out right away, but it's just doing your all, like whatever you choose to do, learn it as well as you can, even if it's like a job you hate, because those skills will prepare you for what your purpose is when it's ready for you.
I feel you. Do you feel that people, well, from your experience, do you feel that people don't usually like recognize their skill set and know how to apply it, like to help them?
Oh, 100%. And that's why it's really, that's why writing it down and having a mentor can help. So like perfect. Like my in this mentorship program,
Yeah.
I did not value my creative skills. Like obviously I know I'm creative because of music, but I took it for granted. Like I didn't realize people didn't think the same way I do in creating ideas. And most of the times, the thing that's super, super easy for you that you feel like nobody would pay you for
Yeah.
is the exact thing that you're meant to do. So, like, as a kid, I always came up with these wild ideas in my head. Like, to just, this is silly, but to give you an example, I was at the gas station and this man was like in a white paint coat and his hands were all like painted. And then all of a sudden, a helicopter flew. And my mind created like a whole TV show of like Breaking Bad style of like,
Yeah.
you know, but not everybody thinks that way. My husband's like, he was probably just filling up because he had like a little gasoline can
Yeah.
and he was like filling it up at a different pump than the one he had parked his car at. So my mind went to, oh, this is like Breaking Bad. And I like made a whole scene, but probably he was just a painter, you know,
And just needed some extra gas.
some extra gas. So people don't think that way, but like that was so suppressed because like it came naturally to me. And then also people are like, you have wild imagination, but that's exactly how I'm able to make good ads for people is my imagination's wild. But it's easy for me. I assume everybody thinks that way and they don't. So for me, consulting people on ideas, like I feel like I would just, and I do, I give people ideas for their content like all day for free. But other people would pay for that. And it's like for my, one of my business partners I'm doing a challenge with, he scales businesses for fun. Like he scaled somebody from like 30K to like 700K in 3 months. He scaled like a paint company to 2 million in like a year. Like it's, and to him, he's like, it's not hard at all. To me, I'm like, this is very hard. I don't know. Like the business side is not my skill set. So,
Oh,
but it,
believe me,
yeah,
I
you
know
know,
that. Yeah.
yeah, because we're creative. Sorry, I'm moving because of the sun. You're a creative, so you know, like exactly.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. Believe me, my publicist and my manager hate me sometimes.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, because it's and there's this guy Dan Henry, and it made me feel happy knowing like he's like all over the place, and then he has a team member who takes all of that jumble and then like makes his team go do the stuff because he's just very creative
Yeah.
and thrives in that. So he has people to build out the systems for his wild thoughts.
All right. All right. That's dope. So just going back a little bit, what would you consider counts as a move? Is it like just a decision, a habit, a conversation, a risk?
Yeah, it can be any of those things. So I usually teach people like you can never go wrong with learning a new skill, but
Mm.
only picking one at a time. So don't try to learn every single skill, but learn one skill that you think would logically help the natural talents and abilities that you have. So for me, the logical skill was learning the podcasting stuff, like learning video equipment. I was very, and usually it's the thing you're resistant towards. So I was
Mm.
very resistant towards techie camera stuff. I don't like to touch the camera. And had I not started forcing myself into learning that, I wouldn't be able to do the type of content that I do. Um, and that allowed me to have more opportunities than I did pre knowing how to film a little bit. So like that's kind of where you take it. Sometimes it's for some people, it's like you might be an amazing, and I see this a lot in music. Like there's some amazing guitarists or an amazing instrumentalist. They don't know how to use social media. But if they just learned how to like put their camera, you don't even have to film anything crazy, just use your smartphone. If they learned the mastery of like writing a text on screen hook, while
Yeah.
like there's that like celloist that does beautiful music. He has like millions of followers, and it's purely because he just mastered social media. Um,
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, so it's just figuring out that skill that's going to allow you to do more of what you want. But moves can also be, yeah, like a habit. One thing I did recently was like I felt like, well, I just had 3 kids and I'm pregnant again, and I felt like my health was like really out of whack. So
Yeah.
I did like a 7-day like fast where I only ate vegetables. And like I didn't say I'm going to do this for the rest of my life or anything like that, but I said I'm just going to make a decision to do this for 7 days and see how I feel. And I felt amazing, and it completely like it was a new method, and that was kind of the multiplier for me to like completely change my mindset around like dieting and food and
Yeah.
all of this to have a healthier relationship. And yeah, so that it can be a move to find a mentor. Like most people, you don't know who, it's hard to know who you are. And you actually do need feedback from people. And it doesn't have to be a mentor, it can be people in your life. Like
Yeah.
that's another thing I teach in my book is to go ask people, the people you work with, the people like that are around you, and ask them like what they think you're good at, because that's the feedback that you need. Because oftentimes, well, you can't see yourself unless you see a mirror. So it's the same way with your skills. You can't see what you're good at without that mirror put in front of you, and that mirror is the community around you.
No, I get that. I get that. Um, you were talking about resistance, right? So, and
Yeah.
this brought up a question in my head because this is something I personally went through, like with the podcast, right? With this podcast. At first, it was me. At first, it was me and 3 of my friends that we
Oh,
would just, every week we would get together, chill out, and we would just, talk about current events, make it funny, and have a good old time, right?
yeah.
And then life hit.
Mm.
One of my friends, he moved back to Puerto Rico. My other friend, he got a really big promotion in his financial firm, and he went out to go do his thing. And one of my other friends, recently became a dad. So I was
Yeah.
here by myself, right? And one of my biggest things is that I'm probably the most extroverted introvert ever.
Yeah.
Like I love DJing, I love being in front of the crowd, I love being out there. But when it comes out to like me reaching out to people one on one, I'm very like, I don't want to say shy, but I have a certain resistance, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like what would you say when it comes to like how do you feel that resistance builds momentum?
Yeah. I think it forces you to do it anyway. Like you're here doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But it also can show you other avenues. So like what you're saying, like with the DJing world, everyone and their mom almost has a podcast now, right? But how
Yeah.
can you be different? Well, you have a unique gift of being a DJ. What if at the end of a DJ thing where you're already in your element, already like feeling alive, you bring up one person and you interview them? Like everybody has a story, everybody has something unique and cool to talk about. And ultimately, like that's just such a good connection point of like people want to be seen, and you can provide that for people who maybe wouldn't be seen, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so like sometimes the resistance can push you into something you never thought was for you. Like for example, I started One Day Songwriter and there was a lot of resistance, like building that course. Like I was teaching people, and you might not like this, but I was teaching people how to leverage AI to help compensate for their lack of musical skill.
Listen, I'm totally with AI. Don't get
Okay,
me wrong, because I even though like my production skills are top notch,
yeah.
my songwriting skills are are trash. Like I'll try, but you know there are services like Suno and other services that you
Yeah,
can use to like help you guide you along to make a awesome song. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I'm like cool with AI and all that stuff.
Okay, good. And so, but on my ads for this course, like people were trashing it. And so it would ruin my ad campaigns. And instead of like, I pivoted because I realized for my business personally, like my mentor showed me that this book that I wrote was actually going to help me build that later.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm like doing all of this, but if I didn't have that resistance, I wouldn't have thought to create a coaching program, to write a book, or none of that. Because if I had that success initially from the original thought of me just creating One Day Songwriter, I wouldn't have stepped into my true calling. And sometimes I think like it, but there is still a thing of like following things through and seeing them. And like One Day Songwriter is not going away. It's just taking a new path. And yeah, that resistance just helps you become more aware of what's required of this and like how do I really want to go about it. But yeah, like what you're doing right now is perfect. You're still doing it anyways, and you're figuring out until you figure out like what's gonna hit.
Yeah. I feel that most people tend to like think that when they get an idea, right? And they put their idea together and they, sort of figure out their path on that idea. Even
Yeah.
though that path doesn't work to get to like their end goal, I feel that a lot of people just think that that one path is the path to their goal when it could be that you have the right idea, you just
Yeah.
don't know how to like go about it just yet. And it could be the things of like you're not having the skills or you just don't know the right people as of yet.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so true. Like going back to One Day Songwriter, I was packaging it the wrong way. Like I was really making AI the focus when really the focus and the thing that people were getting out was like they were healing through writing songs.
Yeah.
And so like I just spoke at an event and did like a song on stage with people it was like an event called She Overcomes, helping women go through trauma. And it was like that iteration of that same idea, like you're saying, is the secret sauce versus the way that I like, yeah, some people push towards like it has to be this way, this iteration. But if you do that, then yeah, if all your friends leave, then you would have just quit your podcast.
Yeah.
It's the same with social media. Like I see, it's like I always tell people, if you post 1,000 times, there's no way that you will not be making money with social media. Like people quit after 2 months. They'll maybe post every day, probably not even make it 2 months. They'll post every day for maybe a month and say it didn't work. That's 30 posts. You're going to give up on yourself with 30 posts. Like,
that's true.
Yeah. So it's the same way of like pushing past that resistance of like, if the work, this is what my mentor says, like if the work isn't working for you, it's working on you. I love that line. That's Myron Golden line. And it's so true. Like things, if they're not working out for you, it just, like you said, you might not have the skills yet, but those repetitions are going to help you get to the place that you need to be.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, a lot of people, well, or at least what I've seen is that a lot of people want to have this like clear road or like this clear path to like their goals,
Oh yeah.
but not knowing that, at the end of the day, life has its twists and turns, and that's, we have to apply that for the things that we want to accomplish as well. We may want to create a lasagna, but we might not use ground beef. We might use ground chicken or like eggplant. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. And that's like the fun part too of like, the businesses that succeed are not ever the idea that people thought they were going to be. Like Kendra Scott, I just heard her interview. She's that probably you don't know, but she's that jewelry person. She's like $1 billion jewelry company. When she first started, it was a hat company. Like she like 100% like I'm making hats, and like had a great intention of like, it was this thing where like the hats would like I think she lost her grandpa, and the hat, it was called Yellow Rose or something, and the hats were like a nonprofit / business. But when people went into her store, they were buying her jewelry. And when she had to end up closing that shop, the Yellow Hat Company, or Yellow Rose Company, I can't remember. I'm really butchering her story, but people were still asking her if they could buy her jewelry. She didn't think her jewelry was amazing. She didn't value the thing that other people valued. And so, yeah, if you're trying to make it in whatever it is, you have to look at it of like, what do people want, not what do I want to give them? And oftentimes everybody does this. You go in thinking like, I want to give people this. Well, the people don't want that. They wanted this other thing. And if you can adapt and move into what they do want while still honoring your passions and your desires, like you're never going to lose.
I feel you on that. So what would you say, what would be the first step someone would take tonight after listening to all this?
Yeah, I would say if they feel stuck, I would tell them to go do their reflection. Go write down every single job they've ever had and write down those skills and do some deep reflection work of who am I? What do I love? And know that like today, if you aren't totally happy in the day that you're in, the present day, then it's all purely the decisions that you made from the previous days. So make one small new decision and things can dramatically change.
I feel you on that. And what would you say would be, I don't want to say it like this, when it comes to like, and just regressing a little bit, like with Tiffany and the Yellow Hat Company, she wanted out to give out hats, but then she became super successful in her jewelry, right?
Yeah.
How much would you say would be a, I don't know how to word this correctly, but so excuse me for this, but would you say that a person needs to set aside their ego and what their original thoughts of their success path would be in order to actually reach their goal?
100%. And that's actually the perfect way to say it. It is ego. It's pride and ego that you failed at something.
Yeah.
If you can take that failure and be like, oh, well, like, yeah, I could look at my original company social script and be like, that failed. But it wasn't a failure because I wouldn't have what I have today had I not had all of those failures inside that company. And pivoting, like realizing, okay, you're not quitting. And I think that's what, it's funny you bring that up because my grandpa, when I started my business, he was like, are you going to quit that too? Because I'm very multi-passionate and like I would get burnt out in every single job. And it's because I was meant to be an entrepreneur and not work for other people. I would work so hard at a company and that would get taken advantage of, where like now I'm doing like 3 roles versus 1. But had I listened to that, then yeah, I wouldn't have done the stuff. So in my head, I'm like, oh, don't quit. I can't, like with One Day Songwriter, I was like, I can't quit it. I can't quit it. I have to keep making it work because of that noise. But really, no, it wasn't a failure. It's just moving and pivoting into what I'm supposed to do and what that's what we're supposed to do in life. We're not meant to stay in one spot. And if something's not working, then yeah, pivot.
I feel you on that. And how important do you think it is for somebody to follow like their intuition and their passion?
Yeah, I think I'm very against following your heart, but I am very much for following your gut.
All right. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Yeah. So a lot of times like my heart tells me I want to help people heal through music and I want to make it like an online course and all this stuff. My heart is telling me that this is good work, like all of this, but my gut is telling me, hey, this isn't working. So your
Yeah.
intuition, most people have ignored it. And so it's hard to decipher for most people what your gut and what your heart are saying and who's speaking, if it's your head, whatever it is. And so sometimes you can't trust yourself unless you've had some type of foundation to trust yourself. If you're somebody who has relied on other people to control and dictate your life, you don't have intuition. That's so severed. So
Yeah.
what's better while you regain that is to rely on the feedback of people around you and positive feedback of the actions you take. So, and really it's the positive feedback of the actions you take. Like with Kendra Scott,
Yeah.
positive feedback was people, after she closed her business down, asked her for her jewelry. Her gut was telling her, her intuition was telling her to keep the hat store open.
Yeah.
But the feedback from the world was saying, no, do this jewelry.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta set aside your heart, listen to the gut, and the people around you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So where can people, find your things at? Where can people connect with you?
Yeah. So I have a website, Courtney Schawl, and it's spelled SCHAWL. Most people forget the C. But on there, if you slash do book your brand, I give away my free book there. You can find me on TikTok. I'm always posting valuable stuff. It's just my name, Courtney Schawl. And we're doing a challenge. I don't know when this is going to get posted, but we're doing a challenge January 26th. My partner Brock, who's scaled all those businesses, and we're going to teach people how to create captivating content. So you can find that on the website. There's a button that says join the challenge, and we're going to do like deep dives on like people's content in the room. So we'll look at their
Okay,
stuff.
cool. I'm definitely gonna check. I'm definitely gonna check that out. Check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Definitely. So Roomies, I'll be having all her links down in the descriptions. So make sure to check that out. And Courtney, I'll ask everybody this before we go. What piece of advice or anything that you would like to leave the Roomies off with?
That's a good question. I would just say never stop learning, because the moment you stop learning, you stop growing and you start dying.
I feel you. On that. That's dope. I like that. And that's deep. And Roomies, remember this. A body in motion stays in motion, and a body at rest stays in rest. So get your asses up and get to moving. With that, peace out.